for May 23rd, 2024 is now called to order, and we'll note that we're starting a little bit late at 6:39 due to a technical difficulty. Meeting's now called to order. In-person participation by the public is permitted as an alternative to in-person public comment. Members of the public not attending in person may submit written comments prior to the meeting by emailing comments to the Deputy City Clerk at vmchenry@cityofplymouth.org before 3:30 p.m. on the day of the meeting. Emailed public comments will be distributed to the City Council and made part of the official record. This meeting is being recorded, and council chambers are wheelchair accessible. Special accommodations may be requested by contacting the Deputy City Clerk 72 hours before the meeting. Could we please have a roll call?
Councilmember Amoruso.
Present.
Councilmember Sim.
Present.
Councilmember White.
Here.
Vice Mayor McLaughlin.
Here. Delighted to be here.
Mayor Ackerland.
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Would everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of City Council regular meeting agenda for May 23rd, 2024. Is there a motion to approve the agenda for this evening?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Could we please have a roll call vote?
Councilmember Amoruso.
Aye.
Councilmember Sim.
Aye.
Councilmember White.
Aye.
Vice Mayor McLaughlin.
Aye.
Mayor Ackerland.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. Public comment. Under provisions of the Government Code, citizens wishing to address the council for any matter not on the agenda may do so at this time. Please submit a completed speaker submittal form to the Deputy City Clerk. Comments are limited to 3 minutes or less, and speakers are requested to state their name and community of residence. For public comments on agendized items, speakers will be called by the mayor at the point on the agenda when the item will be heard. The City Council is prohibited from materially discussing or acting on any item not on the agenda unless it can be demonstrated to be of an emergency nature or an urgent need to take immediate action arose after the posting of the agenda. Is there any public comment from anybody here in City Hall?
I'm Jolinda Sim. I'm a community volunteer lead for the American Red Cross for the Mother Lode counties. I just wanted to congratulate Miss Vicki and all the city staff who have put together the swimming lessons. They're almost full already. We know that when little kids take swimming lessons, they have an 88% less chance of drowning. And this is so important to the city and to our youth. And I just wanted to say congratulations and thank you.
Thank you.
Here, here.
Any other public comment from anybody here in City Hall? Not at this time. Have we received any written public comment?
No, we have not.
I'm going to ask you now, have we received any written public comment on any items?
No, we have not.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to close public comment at this point. Presentations, proclamations, appointments, we have none. Consent calendar items. All matters listed under the consent calendar are to be considered routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion in the form listed. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless, before the City Council votes on the motion to adopt, members of the council, staff, or the public request specific items to be removed from the consent calendar for separate discussion and action. Consent calendar items are 5.1, correspondence. 5.2, approve the regular meeting minutes of April 25th, 2024. Approve the special meeting minutes of May 4th, 2024. And there is no, anybody here would like to make public comment on the consent calendar items? Okay, there's no public comment here in City Hall, no written public comment, so I'll close public comment. And do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar items?
I make a motion to accept the consent calendar as presented. Sorry, Mike.
Thank you.
I second, just want to commend staff for their participation in the May 4th open public budget workshop. So thank you.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Amoruso.
Aye.
Councilmember Sim.
Aye.
Councilmember White.
Abstain because I wasn't here for 5.2 and 5.3.
Vice Mayor McLaughlin.
Aye.
Mayor Ackerland.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. 6, public hearings. There are none. 7, regular agenda items. 7.1 to review the 2024-25 draft budget, including 5-year fiscal projections. Recommendation is to receive, report, and provide feedback and direction. Could we please have a staff report?
Good evening. As you know, we had the budget workshop we talked about on May 4th, where we reviewed the budget in detail and had a chance to ask questions and respond to city council comments and questions and received feedback. So we've incorporated that. In this draft budget that's included, it's the detail of all of the budget pages, but the budget narrative document actually is in progress as well. So that'll incorporate some of the information that I'm going to talk about tonight. So as far as the budget presentation, so you can advance slide for me, Dana. So we've incorporated, so just a review of the budget development process. We've developed the preliminary budget. We held that workshop for council review and discussion. Feedback and direction from council has been incorporated. May 23rd, this is the meeting where we've got the proposed budget presented to council for additional direction and any additional feedback. Then on June 13th, we bring back the proposed budget for council to consider adoption or any additional direction. So one thing that I noted wasn't included in the packet, but I'll just kind of review it, are the projections, the 5-year projections that we had reviewed last time. We've updated those to include the assumptions for the various escalators, revenue escalations and cost escalations out for the 5-year period. So that's been incorporated into that schedule. So you'll see that when we bring it back into the full budget document. Next slide. So budget changes that we made following that workshop were for staffing, converting the full-time administrative assistant to the part-time accountant. For the projections, reevaluating revenue and expenditure assumptions. So we took a look at what historical data shows us for revenue and expenditures, as well as what we expect going into the future, updated any of those as needed, and then again incorporated those assumptions into future years. For the reserves, we reviewed the potential of any appropriate transfers in and out between funds to cover some of those negative balances that we talked about that were probably for cost sharing between funds. So there were, most funds were, we brought those to zero, any of those negative fund balances where it was mostly a cost sharing between the general fund or it would be a capital project fund. And the one that we left were the water and sewer, knowing that we're in progress on evaluating rates, and those may be taken into consideration as part of that rate setting process. So we won't make that change until we know what the Prop 218 would look like. And then for there were a few that we had additional research on, and I know we had additional research that we're still in progress on the CFDs. So we'll bring that back in the next budget presentation. Next slide. So then for our to-do list that we're still in progress on is to complete the research on the reserves that I just spoke about, the additional research on the CFD fund activity and reporting back to address the balance that we had provided, I think, last year in conjunction with what we provided currently. Then we are going to be completing the list of staff capital and operational items for prioritizing within the current budget or future budget as warranted. And then we will also be incorporating graphical representation into the budget to demonstrate trends and other information that's easier to see in graphical form rather than in a bunch of number tables. We'll also be looking at a cost allocation plan to ensure that funds are paying the fair share of various city services. We had kind of talked about that at the budget workshop, and also format updates that we want to make to group like funds into budget summaries, so it's a little bit easier than looking through the massive tables of data. We'll collapse it into fund summaries that you can see and like funds. And then to include schedules in the budget document along with the budget message that will come from the city manager. So next steps would be for us to incorporate any additional changes or direction as directed by the council, or as we determine if we find between now and the next meeting that there are any costs that are going to be different, vary widely from the budget proposal we have currently. And then the proposed budget would be provided to council for adoption on June 13th. And then the budget document itself, just kind of as a refresher, has the budget message, which talks about the city and how things have been and where they're kind of going for the next year. And then it'll have revenue and fund descriptions. And we do have revenue descriptions that talk about how those can be used, so that will be helpful for the council to determine in future years how to expend funds that maybe haven't been utilized. And then it also has narrative related to the budget summaries. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions, take any additional feedback that would be coming forward for the next meeting.
Okay, thank you. Is there any public comment from anybody here in City Hall on this item? Okay, no comment, and we haven't received any written public comment, so I'll close public comment to that. And now for council discussion. Councilmember Amoroso, you have questions, comments?
I've got nothing at this moment. I think she did a great job. Thank you very much. Yeah, that 4 hours was valuable. We got a lot accomplished, so, or 3 hours, whatever it was. You know what I mean? But yeah, no, thank you.
Councilmember Sim?
Yes, I had a question about a miscellaneous item under the revenue fund, under general fund revenue, miscellaneous, and it shows there's $130,000 in that miscellaneous fund. I was curious what that represented.
I'll need to look that one up. We wouldn't normally want something that large to be in miscellaneous, so we might want to categorize that better. So I'll look that up and report back.
Thank you. I think we covered most of the areas when we had our workshop. That was my only question. Thank you.
Councilmember McLaughlin? I'm sorry, Councilmember White.
I'm good at this time.
You did it again. Vice Mayor McLaughlin.
I gotta go twice. Yeah, thank you again. I really love the way just in a year and a half time that I've seen it, just how much this budget is just continuing to mature into really becoming something tangible. And so thank you for the work on that. It's sort of an off topic, but maybe just an asterisk to hold later that, I'd love to see for, going forward would be monthly or at minimum quarterly budget reports. Something that we've talked about in the past. I just bring it up as so we don't forget it in life, because we get the warrants, but it's great to see where we are and trending and tracking in different areas. And so I just have a couple of comments. First, I know during the budget workshop, we talked about projects and bringing some projects back for consideration. And I haven't seen any as part of this. And is the plan to bring some projects back and incorporate those as part of this budget, or would that be something we do as one-offs in the future?
No, we have some projects we want to incorporate into the budget. We have a street project that we want to incorporate at the corner of Poplar and Mill and Locust, that big intersection where cars tend to fly off 49. We have a project there trying to get an engineer's estimate for that project that we can potentially incorporate into the budget where we can use our street funds. And then we have another project that we're looking into. Well, we have two projects that we have on our street list, and I apologize, I can't think of what the two projects are that Public Works should be bringing forward at the next meeting to put on our list that goes to Caltrans. And those are done with not city funds, but we have to submit the list to Caltrans. And we want to include, I think we have a small match, and we want to incorporate that small match in the budget. Those are the three projects that we want to, street projects anyway, that we want to get included in the budget. And then we want to move the courtyard, and it's come up a lot higher than we anticipated. We have some money in the amount of money that's paid into the facilities fee that is paid with each building permit. And then we have some excess funds from our risk management that we can use, but it doesn't come close to what we need to pay for that. So it's about half. So I may be coming within the next, when we come for the budget, seeing if the council wants to fund the other half with general fund money. It would be, the council would have to fund about $50,000. So we could do some this year and some next year, and do it in phases. We pay a lot of money to the state each year to rent that property that we have at the courtyard now, where we could make the property out. If we move it to the wastewater treatment plant, it would be twice the size that it is now, and we wouldn't have to pay the state any rent money. So in over time, we would save that money back. So those are the main projects out of city money that staff brought up to bring in this year's projects.
Okay, great. And I know in our workshop, one of the things that was brought up was the dump truck where it passed its service life before I was born, I think, or something close to that. I mean, done an amazing job of keeping it going. I don't know if there's thought. And then, I ran into some of our public works staff this week, and I understand we have like a tractor that's, I think the twin sibling of the dump truck, I believe. I don't know the life of that, but I know there's some challenges. And so I just, I don't want to get in the weeds tonight, but just wanted to see if we are, I think it's, important to, I guess, continuing to invest in our future, even if we can't afford it. There's some things we can't afford to not do, right? So, thank you on that. My second point, and it may be premature, because I know we're working through some bigger definitions and different things within the Zinfandel Ridge CFD, and identifying within the formation documents of the CFD and the budget that was established had specific categories. And I know our budget, in terms of using the lines that we have in our budget, which are consistent with the rest of our budget, are different than the categories listed in the initial allocation of funds, if you will, within the CFD. And if it would benefit us, right? I mean, at least looking at the benefit of one aligning the other. So the ability to tell the narrative, if we have the foundation document, wrong word, formation document, and the budget were the same, it'd be easier to tell the narrative as we're reaching out to the public, but it may not help internally. And I don't have an answer, and it may be premature because I know we're working through that. So I'm not per se wanting to see anything tonight, but at least want to get it on the table, because I know we've had, a lot of angst and heartburn and misunderstanding of what the CFD is and what the CFD isn't. And when names don't attach, it just, I guess, further compounds the confusion. So.
Yes, so we'll definitely incorporate that, and I think we can make some momentum on including that in the budget narrative document that we bring next time.
Excellent. Yep, and those are all the questions I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And you brought up what I was going to bring up about the CFD and look at, because the numbers just aren't making sense to me, especially with the revenues coming in. But it sounds like you're still working on that and exploring that. So thank you.
Correct.
And then I do remember the budget workshop, which again, that was super helpful. I remember I went around and asked staff who was there an idea of things. I was looking at more like repairs and that sort of thing, and not necessarily projects. But I remember some things we were talking about, some things that were brought up. Well, there's the equipment trucks, things like that. But then there was also talk about, a barn that's about to fall down and things like that. So I don't know if that information would be included in here, or if it's part of an individual department's budget. But just setting aside or making plans for those things that we need to eventually address. I'm not sure where that would be, but.
So you'll see that next time when we bring the list of items we want to prioritize. And I think even in the budget document, we could include that list, since there was such a good strategy session on that, and kind of start deciding if we can afford to do something this year and then next couple of years. So it can be, a multi-year table, but so that we keep that on everyone's radar.
Okay. And then when I was at home looking through this, I took some notes, and of course I left the notes at home, but I did notice that there are a couple of funds that were in the last worksheet, but not in this one. Can't tell you which ones they are though.
Okay, I'll have to look
So
into that.
was there some, and I can shoot you guys an email.
Yeah,
So I just wondered what happened to them.
happy to answer an email if you want to send me that information. I'm not aware of any that we eliminated, so
Okay.
must just gotten cut off somehow.
Okay. Or maybe I missed it. Otherwise, that's all I have. So let me go through one more time. Any questions, comments? Yeah, please.
So, kind of in keeping with what you said, that intersection at Mill and 49, we've already dealt with that multiple times. There's already a boilerplate thing that we've had engineering or staff look at in the past. I think it was either with Jeff or with Rex, but I think it was with Jeff. It's been a long time problem. So I'd try and find that documentation so you don't pay for it twice, because I think it's already been handled. It just never came to fruition. I think it was with Jeff. Yeah, because it was a big issue. So and then we're talking about putting an island out to squeeze it down, and so there should be a lot of documentation and money already spent on that process for not having to re-spend it all. So.
I'm really close to finding that fund that. Oh, okay. From the May 4th workshop, fund number 13, Local Transportation Commission Fund. I didn't see it in this newer document. Unless
That was a title change.
okay,
It was changed from local transportation fund to the COPS grant because it is the COPS grant money.
okay. And how about 52? Which was sewer planning and feasibility? I mean, it was in the negative, so. Okay, it's not. And if you can't find it now, I don't know that we need to put you on the spot and have you dig through all the fine print. I said 13 the first time.
So we'll report back on that. I'm not aware of them being
Okay,
removed,
13
so
and-
something
and
must happen with
52.
the printing.
I couldn't find it. Anyway, that's all I have to say. So we don't need to make a motion. You're not looking for any direction. We're just accepting this and so we're,
Just one last.
yeah, go ahead.
Just a real small point. It'd be nice if some of these abbreviations could be, I mean, things like CF and FD and just two little letters are really hard sometimes to go down quickly and see what all these items are.
Yes, that's on our list, so we'll definitely work
Thank
on
you very
that.
much.
And I've just got one item. I think it's more of an accounting than a budget per se, but I think it's something important is just making sure that we are doing the cost allocation for general fund employees doing work on CFD, right? You know, I know it's something that's been talked about, but not something, I guess, formally from here. It's been more passing conversations, but you know, I just think that's an important piece. So thank you.
That's on our list. Definitely, we want to do that for all funds. So I have what I need to proceed then.
Just to kind of piggyback on what Vice Mayor McLaughlin just said, accounting, that seems like a procedural item. And my thought also, and we could save this for a later discussion, but I'm wondering how the city processes refunds. And if we have a procedure and a standard procedure on that, but we certainly don't have to discuss that now. But to kind of piggyback on what you were saying. Other than that, I don't have anything else on this. I think you have what you need. Okay, thank you, Mary. Okay, moving on to number 8, council staff communications. Do we have a city manager's report?
This past week, I met with the county and CHP, County Sheriff's Office, CHP, fair personnel, fire department for the first meeting of the upcoming fair and what we need and demographics and all that. Pretty standard as with last year. Had risk management meeting this morning in Sacramento, and risk management premiums are going to be going up approximately about 3% across the board. So we'll have to incorporate that increase into the budget. And that is all I have for this report.
Okay, thank you. Mayor and council members' reports. Councilmember Amoruso?
Nothing with this month?
Okay. Councilmember Sim?
I have nothing.
Councilmember White?
I have nothing.
Vice Mayor McLaughlin?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I want to let you know that that we have scheduled in 2 public meetings, whether town hall, I don't know what the correct terminology would be, but the goal is 2 public meetings for the law enforcement services contract. The first one will be next Thursday at 6 p.m. here in council chambers, and then Saturday morning at 9 a.m. also here in council chambers, with a goal of educating the community on the process that we're going through, what we're trying to achieve, talking about typical law enforcement type services, then soliciting feedback, and then reporting back for council on this is that, based on the public feedback, we'll be working to finalize a draft solicitation of interest that will be coming to the council for consideration, hopefully approval at the June 13th meeting. So we're a little bit ahead of schedule, which is good. It'd be nice to check that box and move forward. Also just a little bit of an update that I've been in works in the background up to my neck in some ways, trying to dissect our Zinfandel Ridge CFD, right? It's been a topic du jour of what it is, what it isn't, what did we create, what didn't we create. I mean, the good news is we didn't create a community services district, even though it's called a services district. So it's not a formal, legislatively created, but certainly there's work in place with the goal of being able to bring, tangible, clearly communicated information back to hopefully answer all questions in their perpetuity, and so that we don't, we're on somewhat of a cycle of information gathering. I think one of the big keys is something we talked about tonight with the budget, having a clear and transparent budget, which we've come light years in the past year and a half, is going to greatly enable us and support us in that effort. So thank you for that, and that's all I have.
Thank you. And I have a question for you, Frank, about the town hall meetings. What if other council members wanted to attend that?
So I'm assuming these are town halls that the ad hoc is going to basically have an opportunity to share and get feedback and then report to the council at a future meeting, right? That's the intent, Vice Mayor?
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry. Yes.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so we can't have a third council member there unless it's noticed as a Brown Act meeting, because it's not it doesn't fall within the community exception
Okay.
under the Brown Act, because it has to be hosted by a third party for it to fall. So since this would be a city event, it can only be the ad hoc if we don't notice it.
Okay. Thanks for answering that. The only The only other thing that I want to mention is May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And here at City Hall, we do have pamphlets. City staff has provided pamphlets from Anne Arundel County Behavioral Health. And through Anne Arundel County Behavioral Health, there are a number of resources that people can access. And that's all I have to report. Future agenda items. Councilmember Amoruso, do you have any future agenda item requests?
Next week.
I've
Councilmember Sim?
got a few points. We've had a meeting with regards to the McGee Park project, and the city has retained a landscape architect. He has droned the park and is in the process of putting together some recommendations that our residents have asked for, and I think in about a week we'll have more to discuss regarding the park. This week I reached out to Caltrans to see how they were coming along on our walking trail along Highway 49. They're going to advertise the bid next week to contractors. This is the walking trail that goes from the Zinfandel Parkway down to the roundabout, and it's totally being paid for by the state of California. And the projected project is estimated to take about 2 months. So we should have this project finished by the end of summer. Next, I would like to ask council to request a monthly status report from our code enforcer. I believe this gentleman has been our code enforcement officer for about 2 years. I can only remember one report in 2 years that I could put my finger on. I would hope that we could have a little more from him I think even if he can't join our council meeting, maybe send a report in that can be read as to what he's doing. Next, I would like to ask council to recommend the city manager contact Sun Industries point person for a report on the future plans of the 49er Village project facility. We have a lot of TOT dollars at stake. We'd like to know what their thoughts are. I know they've been involved with their environmental impact study for the last year and a half, and I think it's kind of gone dormant. But I'd like to know a little more about what their thoughts are, even though I may not be able to be in the meeting. Next, I would ask council to request a monthly update on the public works repairs and projects that are going on in the city. We hear on the street there's leaks and this and that and so forth. I would like to have at least a monthly report as to what's going on with our public works department. Next, I would ask council to look into why we have no contact with our city clerk and our city treasurer. Neither elected official ever attends council meetings. I believe they're being paid. I haven't even met the city treasurer. I think we deserve to know what's going on there. These folks never come to council meetings, and they are collecting stipends as we are. And finally, I would ask council that we ask the city staff that we are the city manager that we would like to have at least a monthly staff report as to what's going on with the grant-funded firehouse project. I know that was kind of complicated for a while in the fact that we lost potentially part of the grant, and as I understood, that part of the grant was dedicated to replacing the roof structure on the firehouse. But recently I drove by there and I see they're putting a roof structure on the firehouse. So I'm wondering if we've received that portion of the grant back, or what's happening with that situation. That's all I have right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember White?
I'm good.
So let me, can I go back to what was just described?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sorry.
There were about 5 or 6 things I think that were mentioned by Councilmember Sim. This is under the future agenda items of the agenda. So I guess just for clarity, if that's a request for staff to look into something, that's a request for staff to look into something. You can certainly do that, and it's up to the city manager whether she's able to do it. If it's a request for a future agenda item, then I would suggest bundling those issues up as a potential discussion item to figure out what the council wants to deal with going forward. But we have to stick to what this item is right now, which is a future agenda item request, and under our revised policy that requires at least 3 council members in an agreement. I'm just saying this because I want to make sure she gets A, clear direction, and B, it's clear that you want this to be a discussion for a future agenda item.
I think I mentioned it. I was reaching out to the council for these items. They were not directly, they were not coming from me. However, I've attended a few city council meetings, and and they have a lot of reports that are being reported to council. Then, like tonight, there are very few reports. And these items, I apologize for maybe picking the inappropriate time to vet these items, but some of them have been asked for a long time. For example, the code enforcement officer. I mean, the mayor and I have over the course of the last year have asked for what's going on with this code enforcement officer, and we get almost no response. So I wanted to go on record. Again, I apologize, but probably it was the wrong time to vet this stuff, but I think it needs to get out in the open. So
Let me address that one in particular. At the next meeting, I'll be bringing forward a contract for outside code enforcement contract for Leaf to be doing code enforcement 1 to 2 days per month. That's the company that does our planning services. So I'll be bringing forth a contract for a 6-month trial basis for code enforcement.
Okay, we got to move on, but I just want to make clear. I appreciate the points that you've made in public to get on the record, Councilmember Sim. May I suggest that you talk to Margaret offline about what's the best way to bring these up and deal with them, whether some may not need to come to council as a discussion item, some may just, you can discuss with her offline. I just want to make sure that, this gets shepherded in the appropriate way. And I know she's willing to bring whatever to the council in her discretion for agenda items. Does that work for you?
So I should have couched these items as future agenda items?
Yeah, I mean, that's technically what this part is, yes. Just to make it clear, I mean, that's what this portion is for, is to put it in terms of a request for a future agenda item, and then your colleagues could, support that or not. And it's a way of making sure.
I understand that.
Yeah.
One of the reasons I went through it tonight, because I knew we only had one agenda item tonight, the budget. And
Thank you.
If I may, and just for tying things up into a bow, that if it's decided that the appropriate thing is to bring these things back to council, I'll just give a concurrence. That way there's at least a concurrence, so that if we need that, or do we not even bother?
Yeah, I think council member can work with the city manager, and then we'll figure it out administratively. And I don't think there's any intent to not bring something to the council that needs to come to the council.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, and I think what he's asked for is spot on. So
Frank, it gets a little frustrating times when we discuss the RV park, and then a year goes by and not one discussion between them.
Okay, Councilmember Sim, your point's been well taken. Thank you, and we're gonna move on. Councilmember White, I called on you, right? And you said you're good. Okay. Vice
I'm
Mayor,
good for the record.
thank you. Vice Mayor McLaughlin, future agenda items.
yeah, just one item, and it just be getting an update on our water rights piece. It's been a few months.
On that note, Westwater I'll be bringing forth that contract at the next meeting.
Okay. And
Thank you.
I'm sorry. Okay, thank you. And then for me, future agenda items, timely or maybe not, but I was going to ask, and I know we've talked about this, that this would be on a future agenda item, but if I could nudge this as my desire for it to be sooner rather than later, just a follow up on the 49er issue that I think we talked about that, I don't know, November and December, and said it would come back to the council. And then a future agenda item, again, to get something on the ballot for that clerk treasurer positions. I don't know what the timeline is for that. And then also, I don't know if this would help, if this would meet what Councilmember Sim was saying, but would it make sense for us to have an agenda item for discussion on the agenda and what we want to see in the agenda and what kind of reports? Or we might already have that. I don't know if that's necessary because we have a policy on setting agendas. So I don't know if it's necessary to do it as an agenda item. What does the council think? Okay. Okay. So maybe I'll take a look at the policy and
Just to be clear, we have concurrence from the council. I'm assuming on the follow up on 49 Village. That's already council gave direction on that previously, but we have concurrence on the clerk treasurer on the ballot. Okay, I'm seeing the heads nod.
and that's it for me. Go ahead, Councilmember Ambrose. No, of course.
So I found out today, I guess ION is also going to be addressing their clerk treasurer thing. So it's a real thing. It's not just.
So we're not alone.
Yeah, it's not just Plymouth.
Okay, any other requests for future agenda items? Okay, all right, that's it. It's 7:24 and we will, the meeting is now adjourned.